All right, let me ask you something. Imagine you've been given a job. An impossible job, really. A feat of engineering that just seems to fly in the face of geography itself.
So how would you even start? Seriously, how do you build a road connecting two entire countries across the literal roof of the world? We're talking about blasting through some of the most dangerous, treacherous mountain terrain on the entire planet. And you know what? This isn't some myth or legend. It really happened.
Well, the answer to that massive question lies with a pretty unique group, a military unit that, believe it or not, also happens to be one of its country's greatest nation builders. Today, we're diving into the story of the Pakistan Army Corps of Engineers.
So, who are these guys? I mean, on paper, they're an engineering branch to the Pakistan Army. Simple, right? But as you're about to see, that official definition, it doesn't even begin to tell the whole story. Their job goes way beyond just military construction. It's woven into the very fabric of the nation itself.
And if you really want to understand them, you have to look at their motto. It's Ru Erawan, which translates to the moving spirit. And honestly, that phrase is the perfect key. It captures everything. It's not just about building stuff. It's about being the actual driving force behind progress, defense, and even recovery.
You know, their story starts right at the very beginning, at the birth of Pakistan. Back in 1947, they were created out of the British Indian Army's Royal Indian Engineers. For about a decade, they were called the Royal Pakistan Engineers, and then in '56, they got their current name. So right away, you can see they're grounded in this long, deep tradition of military engineering.
And that history leads us right into their first major role, that of the nation builders. I mean, from day one, the Corps was handed these absolutely monumental projects, the kind that would literally shape the entire country's future.
So, remember that impossible road we talked about at the start? We'll take a look at this number. That's the altitude of the Kunjarab Pass on the Karakoram Highway. We're talking almost 15,400 feet up. The Corps of Engineers designed and built this thing, this absolute marvel. It created this hugely strategic link between Pakistan and China, right through the Himalayas. To this day, it's still one of the biggest public works projects the country has ever seen.
And they didn't just stop with that one highway. Not even close. Think about the dams and canals that power the country's agriculture, the Army's own general headquarters, even the top-secret National Defense Labs. They built them. They are, quite literally, the builders of the nation's most critical infrastructure.
Okay, but here's where the story gets a little more complex. You might be thinking they're just a construction company wearing uniforms, right? Well, that's not the whole picture. First and foremost, they are a combat support arm of the Pakistan Army.
And their combat record? It's long. I mean, they've been there from the very start. In the first Kashmir War back in '47, they've been involved in every major conflict since, right into the modern era. They've even done international missions with the UN in places like Bosnia. And that's the crucial thing to get here, this duality. They build the nation when there's peace, and they defend it when there's war.
So that brings us to a third role, one that's become maybe one of their most important jobs today, being humanitarian first responders. When a disaster hits, you can bet they're going to be some of the first ones on the ground leading the charge to rebuild.
Let's just take two huge examples. Remember the devastating Kashmir earthquake in 2005? The Corps took on one of the biggest reconstruction jobs in its history. They literally rebuilt and redesigned whole cities. Then, fast forward to 2010, the Atabad Lake disaster. Same story. They were right there, handling the reconstruction. It just goes to show how incredibly fast they can switch gears, from soldier to builder to life-saving rescuer.
So what happens when you put all these pieces together? You've got the builder, the soldier, and the rescuer all rolled into one. What you get is this truly unique legacy, this dual or maybe even triple identity.
And that brings us right back to where we started, back to that motto, the moving spirit. This is what it's all about. They're the force that physically moves the earth to build roads. They're the spirit that moves to defend the borders. And they're the compassion that moves to help people when things get really bad. Which leaves us with a really fascinating thought to end on. Think about it. They wear a military uniform, but their legacy, it's carved into the civilian world. It's in the roads you drive on, the cities people live in, the dams that provide power. So when an army's engineers are the ones building a nation's future, what is their true legacy? Is it a legacy of conflict, or is it one of creation and progress?